for yourself what an awesome expression of love, light, and joy of God that He is, that you and I know as Eugene Holden.
Whoo! Hazel, thank you so very much for that introduction. Amazing. Thank you so very much. It is so good to be with you here at Centers for Spiritual Living, Prescott, Arizona. I had a telephone call right before the pray-in. I want to say thank you to that person for helping to fire me up like I need help to be fired up. But thank you so very much. Man, I am excited to be here. I am a musician. I'm a percussionist. I love to sing. I love to play percussion. So music has a very important part of my life. And so I want to start off by giving the name of the talk, right, is One Journey, Many Paths, Welcome Home. And as I was listening to the music, Jackson, thank you so very much. God is I am. Right here, right now, God is I am. That beautiful song, as tenderly as it is sung, it is such a powerful, powerful affirmation of the truth. The one journey, the many paths. You know, we have heard many times before it said, when we get into this spiritual teaching, when we jump back onto the spiritual path, when we jump back onto the spiritual path, that we hear this phrase, right? It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. I don't know about you, right? I want to know where I'm going. I want to know what the destination is. Otherwise, for me, not you, but for me, if I don't know where I'm going, and then I am left to be blown around like leaves in the wind, not knowing where I'm going, right? So that one journey in the many paths, I love the many paths, but the one journey, I want to know what the destination is. And in this particular case, this one journey is about coming home. Welcome home. Now, where is home? Home is God is, I am. Home is your I amness. Dr. Holmes talked about, and my brother Mel mentioned this. Dr. Holmes is quoted as saying, and he said this a lot of the times, there is a power in the universe for good that we get to use. There is a power in the universe greater than we are, and we get to use it. What I've adopted along with that is there is a power in the universe for good greater than we are, and we get to use it, and we want to surrender to allowing it to use us. Why? Because Dr. Holmes said that there is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. Encapsulated in that one quote is the first two steps of prayer. Now, those of you who know me, you know how much I love affirmative prayer. Oh my God. It's not, for me, it's more than just going through the steps. This is a way of life, right? There is only one life. That life is God's life. Now, you can call it anything you want. Call it God, call it Allah, call it Allah, call it Oladomari, call it Krishna, but call it forth. There is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life, this is step 2, that life is my life now. So we are unified in this one power, this one presence, this one life. The one journey in the many paths. The one journey is back home. So when we talk about the many paths, isn't it a beautiful thing that we have choices? I have said over and over and over again that one of the greatest gifts that we have as human beings is the gift of choice. You know, a bird can only be a bird, right? A horse can only be a horse. And it does what a horse does. The bird does what a bird does. But as human beings, being divinely human and humanly divine, we have the gift of choice, which means that on this one journey back to the I am, I can take many paths. Now, sometimes those paths aren't all that great. so it may appear. So it may appear. Sometimes the path may have us going down dark alleys, right? Or have us going, down a path where it's so bright that we can't see. Or going down a path where we are separated from our loved ones, right? And it's not so much the separation of the loved ones, it's what we do with the thought of separation. See, we can never be separate. Why? Because there is only one life. Right? So the many paths can show up in so many different ways. And I am grateful for that, because as we begin to expand our awareness of perhaps what the path might be for, maybe that path is there to remind us, oh, wait a minute. God is, I am. Maybe that path is there to remind us that we are greater than we are thinking in the moment. See, for example, say that you have an experience that has rocked you to your core. Then you are fit to be tied. You are upset, right? And you are hurt, or however that's showing up. When we can stop and take a breath and ask the question, where's the good that I've not recognized yet? Where is the good in this experience that I've not seen yet? That beautiful question opens us up to start looking for the good. Where is the good that I've not seen yet? And as we have been taught, seek and ye shall find. So in the midst of this turmoil, when I stop to say, okay, I don't like what's going on here. So where is the good that I've not seen yet? And then as I began to open up and look through that spiritual eye from within, oh, there's the good. There it is. Oh, that has come, this experience, this particular path has come into my life to remind me of the destination. And the destination is always back within. There's a story that I have that I talk about sometimes recently about listening to that voice. But before I go to that story, let me tell you what I'm speaking about listening. Dr. Holmes says in the Science of Mind textbook, the universe holds nothing against us. Remember, there is a power for good in the universe greater than we are, and we get to use it. The universe holds nothing against us. No matter how many mistakes we have made, we are still perfect beings within, and the within may become the without if we will carefully train ourselves to listen to that inner voice of truth, which speaks to us in our moments of quietness and solitude. If we train ourselves to listen to that inner voice of truth, which speaks to us in our moments of quietness and solitude. Here's the story. Some 20 years ago, my first and rare experience with online dating. Oh my God. So I go online and I find this person and she looks gorgeous and everything is great. It's like, okay, I can check that off. That's on my list. I can check. Oh yeah, great. We go out a couple of times and I wanted to be in a relationship so bad at that time that I kind of let the red flags go by, not seeing them. One day I am in my meditation. And in my meditation, Spirit says to me, Eugene, leave this relationship alone. I say, oh, I got this. Spirit, it was as if Spirit said, okay, Mr. Know-It-All, you go ahead. We'll be here and we'll be here when you get back. That experience, that path, that experience turned out to be, oh my God, it was such, okay, can't use that phrase. Let's just say it was not a good experience at first. At first. Until I began to ask the question, where is the good that I've not seen yet? Where is the good? What is this experience? What is this path showing me? Well, here's the thing. It taught me to listen. Going back to Dr. Holmes' quote, right? No matter how many mistakes we have made, we are still perfect beings within, and the within may become without, which means the perfection within may become the without, if we will carefully train ourselves to listen to the inner voice of truth, which speaks to us in our moments of quietness and solitude. So in my moment of quietness, in my moment of solitude, I heard the voice, Eugene, don't do this. But did I listen? No. Okay, Mr. Know-it-all, you go ahead. Did I listen to that voice? No. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Oh my God. And the experience was crazy. Oh man. I can write a book about that. Well, that'd be a chapter in the book. But oh man. But what it did teach me though, it taught me to listen. It taught me to listen because that's what I was not doing. I was hearing the voice, but I wasn't listening. And for me, listening is not only listening, but also paying attention to the voice and then acting upon the direction of the inner voice. God is, I am. Right here, right now, God is, I am. The one journey is back home to the I am that we are. Now you can call it anything that you want to call it. Call it God, call it Allah, call it Allah, call it Oladomari, call it Krishna, call it Buddha, call it whatever we want to call it the Christ, but call it forth. But here's the thing. In the book of Exodus, we are told what God's name is. God's name is, according to the book of Exodus and others, is I am. So whenever we say I am, we have just taken on the vibration of the infinite, right? And that's a powerful thing for us to grasp unto, right? When we say God is love and there's no separation, then that must mean that I am love. When we say God is grace, that must mean that I am grace because there's no separation. It is not the life of God separate from our lives. It is the life of God revealing itself as our lives. Celia, man, that beautiful song. When we, this truth cannot be broken. I love these lyrics. It cannot be broken. It is simply impossible when we surrender to the one. The one journey, the many paths, is about coming back home. It's about surrendering to the one that we are. What I love about the one, oh my God, what I love about the one is that it reveals itself in everything because there is only one life. And that life shows up, as the Taoist practice says, shows up as the 10,000 things, meaning that it shows up as all of life. That one power, that one presence, that one life shows up as you, as me, as we. It shows up as the wind blowing through the trees. It shows up as the leaves that we get to watch blowing through the trees. It shows up as the nerve endings on our skin that can feel the wind, right? So this one life, this one power shows up as all. This cannot be broken. This cannot be broken. It is simply impossible. I love that. So here's the thing, right? When I feel separate, and sometimes I do, guess who's the one who left? See, because the impossible truth is, that it cannot be broken. I cannot be separate from the divine because I am the divine showing up specifically as the personality known as Eugene Dale Holden, or showing up as Mel Hirsch, or showing up as Jackson, or showing up as Celia. But here it is, right? Showing up as everybody. The one journey is that journey back to you. And that's where we are welcomed home. That's when we absolutely know that when we find ourselves at home, then we can go anywhere. See, where you've heard that saying, right? Home is where the heart is. So wherever you go, that's your home, because home is where the heart is. Wherever you go, goes God, because there's no separation. There was a moment where I thought about this, because I'm always pondering this stuff. So we say God is everywhere present. So if God is everywhere present, then God must be even right where I am, even when I'm feeling at my lowest, even when I'm feeling angry, even when I'm feeling separate, still God is, because home is where the heart is, and I cannot go anywhere without my heart. Now, my heart may feel broken, my heart may feel joy-filled, my heart may feel whatever it's going to feel, but it is not separate from where I am. I am the way, the truth, and the life, right? I am the way that spirit shows up. I am the way that music flows through me. I am the way that these words are spoken through me, right? So when we talk about the name of God being I am, then that means that everywhere you are God in action. Catch that. Everywhere you go, you are God in action. So when I make that an affirmation, it sounds like this. Everywhere I go, I am God in action. Every breath is God in action. Every word is God in action. It cannot be broken. It is simply impossible once we surrender to the one. I look at surrender in 3 ways now. The first way is to surrender all of the thoughts of doubt, of worry, of lack, of limitation, of fear. I surrender all the thoughts. We are to surrender all the thoughts that would keep us from experiencing our highest and the best. Oh, how about this one? That keep us from experience being home. See, home is where you get to let your hair down. Home is where you get to be your authentic self. So why not be your authentic self anywhere and everywhere you go? So we are surrendering all of that which is not in alignment with our highest good. The second leg of surrender for me is to surrender to our highest good, to surrender to our beauty, to surrender to our grace, to surrender to our gifts and our talents, to surrender to our abundance, to surrender to love, to surrender to joy, to surrender to our creativity. The third leg of surrender, surrendering to the source of our creativity, surrendering to the source of our abundance, surrendering to love, surrendering to the one. Thank you, Celia. Surrendering to the one. Welcome home. Welcome home. The only journey that there is, my brothers and sisters, is the journey back to your heart, the journey back to our hearts. And the many paths that we may experience are there to remind us of who we are. You know, life doesn't give us any lessons for us to learn. I know that it may seem like that. That's only because they told us that, but I don't know who they are. I think all of the experience are there to not teach us a lesson, but to remind us of who we are. Now, it could, and we could very well look at it as a lesson, and that's okay. As long as we surrender to the one, as long as we remember who we are. We are the infinite intelligence of spirit made manifest right here and right now. One journey, many paths. Welcome home. Let's pray. So we take this breath. Thank you, Spirit. Recognizing that in this moment that we breathe the breath of Spirit. And so it is in this moment that I recognize from a place of gratitude, I recognize first and foremost that there is this infinite intelligence from which all things are created. And in its very nature, in its original form, it permeates and it penetrates and it fills up the interspaces of the universe, meaning that the space between the space is filled with the dynamic vibration and frequency of spirit. I recognize that this one power is at the very center of all of life. From the nucleus of the atom to the expansiveness of the galaxies, all there is God. The love intelligence that governs the universe through divine law and unconditional love. I recognize that this one presence is at the very center of all of life, has no circumference, meaning that there isn't anything that can, does, or will exist outside of the infinite presence of God, for truly God is all there is. In the beginning, God. Truly the Alpha and the Omega, the in-between. God is the giver, God is the receiver, God is the gift itself. And as we said before, God is I am. So I recognize and I acknowledge that since God is everywhere present at all times, I know that at all times God is present right where I am. It is not the life of God separate from my life. It is the life of God revealing itself as my life. And as I know this to be the truth of my life, I know this to be the truth of each individualized expression of the one who is tuned in today. Ooh, how about tuned in, turned on, and tapped in? Tapped in, tuned in, and turned on to this truth. That right where we are, God is. Right here, right now, God is, we are. And so it is from my conscious awareness, it is in this divine knowing of our oneness in spirit, our oneness in love, our oneness in life, that I speak this word on behalf of each and every one of us. I call forth on this day, in this moment, that divine right activity is happening right here and right now. That right where we are, there is an abundance of good that is showing up in our lives and as our lives because we said yes. I speak this word knowing that it is already complete. I call forth divine right action, which always happens in divine right order, which means that I can take my hands off of it, not being attached to how it shows up, because it shows up in divine right order, and it must show up and result in divine right outcome. Why? Because we have said so, because our word is the word of God, and the word of God is always made flesh. Because we are surrounded by a power for good in the universe greater than we are. And we get to use it. Because there is only one life. And that life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life. That life is your life. That life is our lives right here and right now. And for this, I give great thanks. For this and for so much more than my eyes can see. For this and for so much more than my ears can hear. For this and for so much more than these words can ever possibly convey. I remain forever grateful, and I am so very thankful. It is from this vibration of gratitude that I now release my word into the dynamic activity of love and law. I know that as I release my word into the law in unconditional love cannot help itself. It must take these words and mold and blend and shape these words and then send these words back to us, not void or empty, but absolutely and completely and abundantly, oh yeah, and joyfully fulfilled. And so fulfilled, we allow it to be. We declare that it is so. And so it is, and so we are. Amen. Take a breath. Peace and abundant blessings. I love you.